Good day, good day. Riley is basking in the sun. This was our campsite last night, specifically right here. Is where I set up my tent. And we are all packed up and ready to start the day. Today is Monday, June 10th, day number 39 for Riley and I on our Appalachian Trail through hike attempt. And it is a late day today. When I started packing up inside the tent, I looked at my phone was charging, and so when I started to move it, it powered on and I saw the time, and it was already 12 o'clock. And I'm sure it's taken at least an hour for me to pack everything up, so I'm sure it's at least 1 o'clock right now in the afternoon. Last night, or yesterday, it rained on us and we got all wet. And fortunately, it stopped raining in the early evening time, so we had a chance to keep walking and keep staying warm. But I think Riley's jacket dried out okay, but I was still soaked, like, on the inside. So my skin was still wet. So when I got in the tent, before I got to bed, I took my wet clothes off, like everything off. So I had no clothes on. All my wet clothes were at one side of the tent, and I just got in my liner and my sleeping bag, and that helped me to totally dry off so that I wasn't wet during the night. But I still felt chilly during the night. I was mostly okay, but I had to make sure I pulled my liner like all the way over my head to minimize any drafts that came in. And I just wasn't as warm as I would have liked. And so then this morning, I was still feeling chilly, and it just felt so comfortable just to stay in my sleeping bag. And because I didn't have any clothes on, I had no interest in putting on the wet, damp clothes that I needed to wear. I only have one pair of clothes. I don't have a second set of dry clothes. And that's just something that I've decided to try to minimize weight. But it makes it difficult in a situation like this where my only clothes is my only pair of clothes is damp. So I just basically waited in the sleeping bag until it got warm enough for me to feel comfortable. And it eventually did, but it took, I probably could have gotten up earlier, but I was just enjoying lying down and getting the extra rest, and staying warm. Finally, once daylight occurred, it actually started getting warm enough where I was like just super comfortable, and Riley was enjoying the extra rest as well. So we're getting off to a late start, but we had a very enjoyable, restful, relaxing morning, and now we're ready to get started. And it seems like the clouds are up there, but we can definitely see large pockets of blue sky. So hopefully that means there's no rain today, and we can have a shorter but good hiking day today. So we will check in later. Bye for now. Riley, hey. Riley was looking at me before, and now he's not looking at me. Riley. Yes, good boy. So, the day is going fine so far. It's mid-afternoon, and just a beautiful day today. Just beautiful. It's not raining. So, since it rained yesterday, Riley and I, well, I can speak for myself. I'm very thankful that it's not raining. It's just a nice, a very welcome change compared to yesterday. The sky has been still cloudy, but the sun is out as well, and it's just not a dreary day like yesterday. And the trail has been very pleasant. Most of it has been like this. So we've been back in the woods as opposed to kind of in the open area like we were yesterday in Grayson Highlands State Park. And yesterday there were lots of stretches of the trail that were just very rocky. So today the terrain is much less rocky now that you can be in the woods and it can be rocky or it can be not rocky, and for the most part it's been not rocky. So it's just been a very pleasant day so far today. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, that's all. Just an update. We will get going. We just took a break here because Riley had a little bathroom break, and I cleaned it up and buried it, and we're ready to continue on. So we'll check in later. We are coming up on a waterfall called Comer's Creek Falls. Riley, wait. Wait, Riley. Okay. All right, checking in again. We just crossed another road, which I believe is called or signifies Dickey's Gap. And we're crossing into a new wilderness area, Raccoon Branch Wilderness in the Jefferson National Forest. It seems like we're crossing into a new wilderness area like every single day. So, much more often than we were at the start of the trail in Georgia. But the trail continues to be nice. We passed by a group of possibly a group of young children with some adult guides earlier. Probably about a group of like maybe 10 or so. And Riley got to greet several of them and was wagging his tail, and they were happy to say hi to him. So that was very nice. There's a little birdie ahead of us, walking north and flying upwards. So we will check in a bit. We're continuing to be thankful, or I'm continuing to be thankful that it's not raining today. My orange shirt that I'm wearing has dried out very nicely, so I should be able to wear all my clothes to bed tonight. I usually wear my hiking clothes to bed. As I mentioned at the start of the day, I did not wear them to bed last night because they were wet, and they would have prevented me from, they would have kept me even colder than I ended up being. But when they're dry, like they should be tonight, I will be able to wear them to bed, and they should be able to keep me nice and cozy tonight. So I'm definitely pleased about the prospect of having a nice warm night in my tent tonight with Riley, and hopefully we'll get to do some reading. I did not get to do any reading last night. I was up too late. up too late. I'm just from the fact of getting to camp late and then needing to feed Riley and feed myself, and get out of my wet clothes and try to get warm. So yet another night of not being able to do any reading, but I do look forward to reading just about every night. So hopefully tonight will be a good night where I can get some reading done and exercise my mind in addition to my body. All right, we'll check in later. So ever since I showed that Raccoon Branch Wilderness sign, it seems like we've been mostly doing an uphill climb, and we finally got to what seems like the top, and now we're doing a little bit of downhill. But ever since we got to the top, it's been really closed in like this. It wasn't closed in like this when we were ascending the mountain. But now it just seems like we have a very narrow pathway with tall plants on both sides of us, so that's what makes it feel closed in. There's nothing wrong with that. It feels fine. It's very nice up here, and it always feels nice to get to the top and start going on level ground again, or start going downhill like we're doing now. One thing I think I may have forgotten to mention, I think that leads maybe to a campsite. There's a lot of these informational signs here. So Virginia Highlands Horse Trail, Trimpe Shelter 2.5 miles, Raccoon Campground 3 miles. Very good, so we're going to continue on in the direction of Trimpe Shelter on the AT. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, I think I had mentioned before we got to Boots Off Hostel several days ago that I had lost my water filter accidentally. Well, I don't know if I probably mentioned it, but I was able to pick up a replacement water filter at Boots Off. And the new water filter that I have, it's the same model as the previous one, but I've noticed that the flow rate as water's passing through the filter is much better with the new filter. Before it took a long time. Well, yeah, I mean, it took a long time to filter my water before. The flow rate was not very high, but the flow rate seems very much improved with the new filter. So it takes a lot less time to filter my water now. And I don't think I mentioned that before. And then one other thing that I have not mentioned yet is, well, I did mention that my headlamp was getting low on battery. And that was one of the things that I was hoping to fix when I got to Damascus. I was hoping to get a new set of batteries from the Dollar General. But there was no Dollar General, since apparently it went out of business. Who knows when? Probably several years ago. So I did not get a new set of batteries in Damascus. I may have been able to get some at the Damascus Outfitters store. They probably would have sold batteries for headlamps. But I was so focused on just mailing the package home and then getting food that I just forgot about getting batteries, or I didn't prioritize it. And anyway, so a couple nights ago, yeah, literally a couple nights ago, I was in my tent at night. I had just recently gotten in my tent, and I was using my headlamp, and the batteries finally totally died. So the light just totally went out. So my headlamp is no longer operating because my batteries are completely used up. So for now, what that means is that I can't count on hiking into the night like I used to. Like, it's still possible to do so because I do have my phone, which has a light on it, but the battery life on my phone is much shorter than the battery life in my headlamp. So that should be something that I should count on as just a last resort, and not something that I should count on to hike regularly into the night. So I need to be much more careful now to make sure we set up camp before dark. And if we need to hike into the dark, then I do have, like I said, I do have my phone light that I can rely on for a little while, but I don't want to count on that for too long. So what that also means is, hopefully when I get to the town of Atkins, which might be tomorrow. If it's tomorrow, it'll be late in the day. If not tomorrow, then it should be on Wednesday. I will scour the gas station convenience stores to see if they have AAA batteries that I can use to get my headlamp working again. And if not, then it's not the end of the world. I'll just have to continue to be careful to make sure we get to camp before dark. And I'll have to be more careful than I've been, because before I've been perfectly willing to hike into the dark, at least for a little bit. But it's definitely a different ball game if you can't rely on your headlamp. So I just wanted to mention those two things, because I don't believe I've mentioned them before. So like I said, we passed Hurricane Mountain Shelter this morning. When we started the day, we were at mile 512.1 according to Far Out, and we were about 2.5 miles shy of Hurricane Mountain Shelter. We passed by there early in the day. Of course, we started the day, I think it was around 1 o'clock or so. So we passed by there in the early afternoon. And after Hurricane Mountain Shelter, the next shelter is Trimpey Shelter, which was about 9 miles, maybe 9.5 miles or so away. And we just passed a sign a short while ago that I think said we were 2.5 miles from Trippy. So we're definitely getting there. And I'm thinking when we get there, it'll still be light out. So Riley and I will most likely push on beyond and end up finding a campsite somewhere a few miles after Trimpey. The next shelter after Trimpey is Partnership Shelter, but that's, I think, about 9 miles after Trimpey, so that's too far for us to get to tonight. Partnership Shelter is 0.2 of a mile away from the Mount Rogers Visitor Center, which is right near a road that leads into the town of Marion, Virginia. But the town of Marion is I think 5 miles down the road, so it's not easily accessible unless you have a ride to get into town. One of the things about Partnership Shelter is that apparently, since it's so close to the road and the Mount Rogers Visitor Center, there's a way for you to call pizza places in town, and they will actually drive out and deliver pizza to hungry hikers. But Riley and I will probably be passing by there most likely late morning or around midday tomorrow. So I don't expect us to be taking advantage of that. I think if I were to take advantage of that, it would be more something along the lines if we were actually staying at Partnership Shelter for the night and had already settled in, and that way calling for the pizza, it doesn't delay you in your forward progress of your hike. And plus Riley and I have plenty of food. I packed plenty of food out of Damascus for us, so we're not starving. And plus, when we get to Partnership Shelter, we'll only be like 12 miles away from Atkins, where we'll have access to the gas station convenience stores and also the Mexican restaurant called El Burrito Loco. El Burrito Loco. I'm practicing my Mexican accent there. It's a delicious Mexican place. I ate there both times that I got to the town of Atkins previously, in 2017 and 2018. And I think I had the veggie fajitas both times, and absolutely delicious. It's not a fancy Mexican place, and I don't think they even serve alcohol, so they don't serve like margaritas like most Mexican places do, but their actual Mexican food is very good. Of course, I am a hungry hiker talking, so my standards are much lower than most people's, but regardless, from my perspective, it's really good Mexican food. And they, like most Mexican places, they do serve a basket of tortilla chips with salsa for free as an appetizer, which I really appreciate. I love sampling on the delicious chips and salsa before digging into the main course. And the other cool thing about getting to the town of Atkins is that the gas station convenience stores, at least one of them I know, they sell pints of ice cream. So if I'm hungry enough for it, I can enjoy another pint of ice cream before we head out. Ah! I'm sorry. Riley just stopped in his tracks, but then he continued. So sometimes when he does that, I embellish my reaction and just squeal out, even though it's not necessary. So the trail's getting a little rockier here, but it's not too bad here, but definitely rockier than before. As we were walking through Grayson Highlands yesterday, it was significantly more rocky than this. And also as we were coming up the ascent towards Mount Rogers, it was quite rocky. Slightly annoying, I might add. But that's part of the trail. It makes you appreciate the less rocky parts, just like dealing with the rain yesterday. Very annoying to have to deal with it, but that's part of the adventure, and it helps you to appreciate when it's not raining. Plus, it also, the benefit that you get when you're going through it is that, like, it gives you kind of a free shower. Like, it helps to wash my hair out, wash my face out. I'm cold and wet, but at least I'm getting a little bit refreshed and a little bit cleaned up, and it helps to clean my clothes off too. So kind of a little washing of my dirty hiker clothes. Sorry, I still have the camera in my headband set up, but I'm just holding it. It's not on my forehead right now. So I apologize if the headband is getting in the way occasionally. But I just wanted to show Mr. Riley down there. He's doing fine. He's doing very well. Okay, we will check in later. Bye for now. Hello, Riley. So Riley and I were just coming down the trail from that direction, and the trail actually continues in the other direction, so you just make it's like a switchback. But there's this other trail. I mean, like if they didn't have that switchback, you would think that the trail just continues in this direction here. But the sign there informs you that you do need to make a U-turn, and I just noticed that there's this green thing on the tree, and it looked like a sign, so I came over to the other side to read it, and it says, "Insect trap, government property, please do not disturb. For information, contact your county or state or federal plant protection programs office. Troud 14, Unit 9, MRD, 6724. And today's June 10th, so that's only 3 days ago. Yes. VDAX, and then a phone number. And inside there are some insects that look like they have gotten trapped to the glue inside. So I will not disturb. I was just curious. So there's some scientific research on insects going on here. Let's not get you tangled up here, Riley. There we go. All right. And now the sign says, Trimpe shelter this way, 1 3/4 miles. All right, now we're getting tangled up here, so we'll check in later. All right, Van Gogh and Riley checking in as the day is winding down. We passed by the entry point to Trimpe shelter a short while ago. The shelter is actually about 1/10 of a mile off the trail, so that we just passed by a sign that indicated the shelter was off to the right, and there was a side trail to get there. And I checked the time when we got there, and I checked my guidebook, and I checked far out to see what our options were. And as you can see by the sun over there, it is in the process of setting. When we got there, it was about 8:10, and I think that was about 10 minutes ago, so it's probably about 8:20 now. And according to Far Out, there's like a string of campsites that start about 3.1 miles from Trimpe shelter. And so that's where we're headed. I think we can get there close to 9:30 if we average about 2 miles an hour. And the trend is going to be mostly downhill, and there's 2 roads that we're going to cross before we get there, about a mile, each separated by about a mile. The first road is like 1.2 miles from the shelter, and then in another mile there's another road, and then in another mile there's the campsite, and there's also a stream, a water source right next to the campsite. So I'm expecting that the trail should be pretty similar to this, pretty easy to walk on and mostly downhill, so we should be able to definitely kind of pushing our luck here, because we'll probably have to do some hiking in the dark, but I'm thinking we should be able to get a couple miles in by around maybe a little after 9 p.m. and at that point it should be still somewhat light out for us to be able to still use the natural light. So we're definitely going to be using up all our light tonight, and if we need to, I'll get my phone out and use that as a light source. But I think we'll be fine. Compared to when we hiked out of Damascus, and we got 8.8 miles that day, and I was hiking we were hiking most of the time next to the Virginia Creeper Trail, and there were so many campsites, and it was fairly easy hiking, and then bam, all of a sudden the trail got super rocky. We started going uphill. There were no more campsites, and I was so tired. I don't think, I mean, knock on wood, I don't think we're heading into another situation like that. And plus, a big difference is that I am operating on a good night's sleep right now, whereas I was not operating on a good night's sleep when we were coming out of Damascus. That being totally exhausted makes such a difference in terms of how hard the hiking is. But I feel very alert right now. My mental state is quite normal at this point, and perfectly fine for hiking. So I'm doing everything I can to justify my decision, but regardless, I've made the decision. Riley is doing fine, and we got such a good rest this morning. It was so nice to, after being chilly for parts of the night, it was so nice to sleep in this morning and just enjoy the comfort of my sleeping bag and enjoy being dry and warm. Just thinking about it, yeah, I mean, it was very comfortable in the moment, and I think it was definitely the right decision rather than trying to push off early and start the day earlier. I mean, when you're comfortable, unless there's a good reason to change course, just maximize your comfort. I mean, obviously, got to balance that with trying to make forward progress on the trail. So that's what I'm trying to do. Once I felt like I was sufficiently warm this morning, I did decide to get up, and it turns out that was around 12 o'clock, which is pretty late by hiker standards. But it's what we needed. It's what I needed to feel comfortable getting started with the day, and I felt good today, so it seems to have worked out for us. Riley has decided to take the lead. He's looking very frisky. So we're going to enjoy this last part of the hike today, and we will check in when we get to our campsite. All right, bye for now. So now we are coming to the other side of the fence. We had to cross one of these to get into the pasture area, so the cattle that we passed are enclosed inside that fence. Now we're heading back into the woods. All right, so Riley and I are in our tent now. Just want to close out the day. We made it to the campsite that I was mentioning. There were actually 3 campsites separated by a half mile from each other, and we made it to the third one, so the farthest one out. We got here about 9:50 p.m. and I was able to use the natural light for most of the way, but I did need to bring my phone out for a little bit towards the end. So in total, we actually walked 16.1 miles today, and we're at mile 528.2, according to Far Out. So that puts us about 18 miles, a little under 18 miles from Atkins. So it's possible that we might get there tomorrow, but we'll see. Hopefully we can get a good night's rest and get off to an earlier start tomorrow. So Riley is warm in his jacket here, and he's sleeping well, and we're going to get a good night's rest, like I said. I hope everyone's doing well, and we will check in tomorrow. Bye for now. All right, so the trail has just spit us out from the woods back there into this grassy meadow, and there's a whole bunch of free-range cow. I guess some of them might be horses, maybe. I think they're probably all cow. Riley so far is not worried about them at all. He's just minding his own business. Not bothered at all. This is the first time that we've we were at the scales the other day, yesterday. There were free-range cattle that we passed by. So this is the second time. But this is like the first time that we're in just like a wide open meadow where the cattle are just all around. And Riley's doing very well. The cattle don't seem to mind us. Come on, buddy. That guy's looking at us. Come on, Riley. It's okay. Riley, come on, buddy. Come on, Riley. Riley, come on, buddy. Come on, Riley. No, come on, Riley. Come on, buddy. Riley, come on, buddy. Come on, over here, Riley. Riley, over here, buddy. Come on. Riley, come on, buddy. Let's go, Riley. Riley, come on, over here. Riley, come on. Riley. Come on, buddy. Hold up, buddy. Okay. All right, that black cow is starting to approach us in a way that I was starting to feel a little uncomfortable with. So I decided to try to get out of there as quickly as we could. And fortunately, the cows were not aggressive towards us. All right, we will check in later.